Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, good evening. Evening, everyone. Hi, good evening. Evening. Good evening. Yeah. Evening, everyone. Hi. Yeah. Okay, let's start. Joined everyone. Okay, let me start. So yesterday, up to yesterday, 3 days, you all had the class miss ho gaya. Okay, you can get this revised, isn't it? So up to yesterday, you all guys had problems, right? Problems means you are in that what excitement mode, because problems are always exciting, theory is always boring, isn't it? So today we'll be starting with one theory for BFM, but that theory won't be at all boring to you. That will be more exciting than the problems. Okay, yeah, you can get it from that. More questions, you can get it over there. MCQs are available, na? Notes and everything. Okay, those are available on that app. Okay, you can definitely get it from there also. So now, yeah. So this theory for today and tomorrow, through 2 days, I think so. This theory will go on. This is basically LC, letter of credit. Okay. How many of you have handled LC up till now in your life? Handled LC, letter of credits. Has anyone handled LC in your life up till now? Letter of credits, LCs, bank guarantees. Okay. These are all the trade finance products. Very exciting. Huge excitement. Means I worked in the LC department, LC and bank guarantee trade finance for almost 7 years. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. See this. It's like this. Firstly, I'll tell you what the transactions are, what the LC is, and then I'll show you that LC also. Forex LC, how does it go? Okay. What is it? Okay. Yeah. I'll show you that. Not an issue. See here, what it is firstly, for understanding LC, you need to understand what is business. As a banker, we are very weak in business. We know banking, means saving current FD loans, but we don't know business. Okay. Always remember, suppose imagine you and me tomorrow start doing the business. Suppose if I'm the seller, you are the buyer, let's say. Okay. And we know each other. Imagine we know each other. Okay. In that case, when we know each other, then let's say I have to prepare some, you order me something, and that is a customized product. I have to prepare something. Okay, you order me, let's say, what, 5,000 chairs of plastics. Okay, you order me 5,000 chairs. So what will I tell you? I'll tell you, see this. I don't guarantee you, even though I know you, but I don't guarantee you. Tomorrow, if you don't pay, then all these 5,000 chairs which I prepare will be on my head. So what do I say? I'll tell you. What you do is you give me the advance payment. So in advance payment, once I get that advance payment, then I'll definitely prepare it. It's then easy for me because I've got the payment, isn't it? It's good for me, right? But now the problem lies, I'll just make the table over here. Seller and buyer. Buyer. Okay, now you'll understand business over here. Buyer. So advance payment, it is good for me. Seller, right? Good. We'll just write good or bad. Okay. So seller, it is good for me now because I've got the payment, so I'll manufacture it. But as a buyer, you have given me the payment. Tomorrow, if I don't make those chairs, I run away. Then what? Then who is in trouble? In that case, you are in trouble. So that's why it is bad for you. Okay, advance payment is bad for you. Okay, then this is out. This system is out. This system is used only when you know each other and very trustworthy guys. Okay, only in that case. Second is open account. What is open account? Open account means seller and buyer decide to do the business. Okay. And now understand what is this open account, because see, this 2 and 3 are related to each other. Open account and collections are related to each other. Okay. How they are? Let's see this. What happens is, this is the seller and this is the buyer. Okay. So how do they do the business over here? Firstly, buyer gives the order. Okay. Order is received. PO, we call it PO, purchase order. Order is always received using PO, purchase order. Okay. Then this seller manufactures the goods. Now look at this, the arrows which I am drawing. He manufactures the goods and sells the goods to this person. Goods. Okay. But when the seller sells the goods, these are international sales. Here we are not talking of any chai wala sale, okay, or local sale. We are talking of a sale in, let's say, different countries. Seller is in India and his buyer is in USA. Okay. We are talking of this sale. Okay. In that case, what happens? This buyer will give the PO, seller will give the goods to that. But how will the seller send the goods? Let's imagine 99% of the business in international trade is done via, anyone knows? 99% of the business for manufacturing, basically all the trade in this world, 99% is done via which route? Anyone knows? Manufacturing or big everything is done via which route? Sea, correct. Sea, ship. Air is very less. Because I'll tell you the reason behind that also. Okay, sea is the best route, sea, ocean. Okay, because why sea is used so much? Because in sea, the what fuel required is very less. Whereas here, imagine, here that's a scientific part actually. We need not go into that. But if you put a wood plank in water, right, and just press it, it will automatically come up. So that's why C is always cheaper, because it has an upthrust. So let's not go into technical. Okay. So now in open account, what happens? This seller sells the goods, sends the goods via sea. Okay. But this buyer will have to take the goods. This ship won't go to the buyer's house, right? The ship will go to some port over here, and from this port this buyer will have to take the goods, right? So if it goes to the port, how will this port authority or customs authority give the goods to the buyer? So in that case, the documents will also be sent. Documents, okay, documents will be sent by the seller to the buyer directly to the buyer. Here the bank is not involved anywhere between seller and buyer. Buyer gives the PO, seller sends the goods, seller sends the documents, and then once the goods are received and the documents are received, this buyer will send the payment. Okay? Payment will be sent by this buyer, and that payment will be sent via bank. Bank is only involved over here. Okay? Bank is involved only over here in this last payment part. Remaining three these stages, bank is not involved, and that is called as open account. Open account means seller fund first sends the goods directly. There is no one involved in between. Seller sends the documents, then these documents reach the buyer. The buyer takes these documents to the port, means that is called a shipping bill of lading. Okay, he sends this bill of lading, takes this BL and takes the goods from the port, and then sends the payment to the seller. Okay, so now this case, tell me, it is good for whom, buyer or seller? Open account. Open account, what do you think? Is good for whom and bad for whom? Open account. It is good for buyer, right? So this is buyer, it is good because he is giving the payment only after receiving the documents and the goods. But tomorrow imagine this buyer gets all these things and he doesn't pay. This fourth step doesn't happen. Then it is bad for seller. So it is bad over here for this seller, isn't it? And also there are certain risky elements over here because there is no institution involved over here. No bank, nobody. Okay. So that's why open account is always riskier. Then comes collection. Collection is similar to this. Same logic. Buyer gives the PO, seller sends the goods. Only the difference now is, see this, step number 1 over here, step number 2 over here, step number 3 over here, and last is step number 4. Okay. So in open account, only step number 4 is through bank. Okay, I'll write it over here. Step 4 through bank, right? Through bank in open account. But in collection, what happens? It is same as that of the open account. Only the difference is goods are sent via C, but these documents are sent via bank. Seller will have one bank, buyer will have one bank over here. Buyer's bank in buyer's country, seller's bank in seller's country. So seller will send the documents to this his local bank, let's say SBI over here. If he is in India, then SBI, or now I'll call Axis. Yesterday I didn't take the name of Axis. So seller will send the documents to Axis Bank. Buyer will have his own bank, let's say HSBC over here, okay? And then seller will give the documents to Axis Bank. Axis Bank will forward the documents, okay, to HSBC Bank. And then now there is a safety involved over here. This now comes the role of DADP, DA and DP. What is DADP? Delivery against acceptance, delivery against acceptance, okay, acceptance. And second, DP is delivery against payment, okay, payment, okay. So delivery against acceptance and delivery against payment. What do you mean by DADP? See this. Suppose if the contract between buyer and seller is such that, let's see, this buyer will tell that I will pay you after 90 days, not today immediately. Buyer will tell, I will pay you after 90 days from the date of shipment. When you send the goods, this ship leaves your port. From that day, I'll pay you 90 days after that. Okay. So that is called as DA, delivery against acceptance. Means what? The seller will send the goods and these documents will be sent to Axis Bank. Axis will send to HSBC. Now HSBC will give the documents to the buyer only when, now look at this, what am I saying? HSBC will give the documents to the buyer only when buyer will give an undertaking or disclaimer, anything you can call it. Undertaking to HSBC stating that, see, give me the documents because I have to take the goods from that port and I will pay you as per my agreed terms of 90 days. So buyer will give it in writing to HSBC that, see, give me the documents, I will pay you on the 90th day, whatever as it is agreed. And then the bank will give it. That is called as delivery against acceptance. Buyer is accepting that I'll pay it. Okay. So now he'll take the documents and take the goods. Okay. So this is DA. What is DP? DP means side payment. Means the agreed terms are, whenever you receive these documents, immediately you pay first and then only you take the documents. So in that case, HSBC will tell this buyer that, see, you want these documents, first give me the full payment. Only then I'll give you the documents. Okay. So that is called as DP. Okay. Delivery against payment. So it is a safer part over here, because the HSBC will give only the documents to this buyer if he gives acceptance or if he gives payment. So what is the problem? Everything is good now. So what is good or bad to this buyer or seller over here? In that case, what is bad over here and for whom it is bad? Can you imagine? There's one big problem in this. Similar to that of that earlier one, open account. The big problem is, okay, here is the bank involved. So you'll say HSBC is involved. No, 90 days delay is okay. That's also okay. Damage is also there. Okay. I'll give you a big problem over here. See, this big problem is, imagine this seller gives the documents to Axis Bank. Okay. Axis Bank gives it to HSBC. Now let's say this is what DP. Okay. Immediate payment. We'll consider two cases separately. Huh? First I'll consider site payment. Site means immediately see the documents, give the money. So the documents have reached HSBC Bank now. HSBC is telling this buyer that see, you want the documents, give me the payment. Now the buyer says, I don't have the payment. I won't give you the payment. Then HSBC will say what? It will say, okay, I won't give the documents. Buyer will say, okay, I don't want the documents. Getting this point, very important. See this. HSBC will tell this buyer that give me the payment. Buyer will say, I don't have the payment. I won't give you now. So HSBC will say, okay, then I don't give you the documents. Buyer will say, okay, no issues. I don't take the document. I don't want the goods also. I don't want the documents also. Who is at loss? Who's at loss over here? Is Axis Bank at loss? No. Because Axis Bank has not given anything to the seller, no payment, nothing. Is HSBC at loss? No. HSBC has also not taken any risk. These two banks, Axis and this HSBC, they are only acting as a courier persons over here. So if this buyer doesn't give the payment, what will HSBC say? HSBC will inform this Axis Bank, see, this buyer is not paying. So take these documents back. So Axis will inform the seller, see, I have not received the payment, take these documents back. So seller will take the documents, but after all, what has happened? He has prepared the goods, sent it to this USA port, and they are lying on that USA port. So the manufacturing cost plus the port cost, everything is in trouble over here for the seller. So it is bad for the seller over here. Okay? And good for the buyer. Okay? Correct? Now, even the second case, I'll tell you, there is a problem. I've seen all the problems in my life, which are all these four things I've handled, and I've seen all the problems in my life. So the problem is about DA also. See this. Seller will send the documents to Axis Bank. Axis will send it to HSBC. Now it is DA, 90 days payment. So HSBC will tell this buyer, see, you want the documents? Give me an acceptance from your side that you will pay after 90 days. So buyer will say, okay, I give the acceptance. He will give you the acceptance, this HSBC Bank, and take the documents. Okay. Now he has taken the documents. He has got the goods also from the port. Port authorities, they see the documents and they give the goods. They don't check whoever it is. Okay. It's like that bearer check. So HSBC, now the documents are with the buyer, goods are with the buyer. Who is in trouble? As of now, Axis Bank, no trouble. HSBC, no trouble. Now on the 90th day, this buyer had given the acceptance. He will have to pay. But on the 90th day, buyer says, I don't pay. Buyer says, I don't pay. Okay. So in that case, who's in trouble again? So buyer has got the goods also. He is not paying. In that case, again the seller is in trouble. Okay. But how come buyer will have goods in it? Buyer will have goods. Yeah, he can get the goods. See here. Whenever it's a DA acceptance, delivery against acceptance, how does this DA work? See this. This seller will give the documents, and the agreement between these two guys is this buyer will pay the seller on the 90th day after shipment. He can take the goods in between. Okay. So 90th day he will pay. So the seller will send the documents. Documents are prepared immediately. Once the goods are left, immediately the documents are prepared. So document, the seller will give it to Axis Bank. Axis will give it to HSBC. HSBC will take an undertaking from the buyer, only undertaking, that I will pay on the 90th day, and give him the documents. So the exchange between HSBC and the buyer is documents and indemnity, or the undertaking, you can call it undertaking. Okay, that is the only exchange between these two guys. So buyer will definitely give the undertaking, and documents are received by him. So once he has these documents, he can go to the port and give them the documents, that bill of lading, and then the port authorities will give him this goods. So now buyer is having goods also, and money is also with him only. He has not given the money to the seller. So on the 90th day, see here, this goods transaction takes place hardly in how many? 30 days. Year, all these transaction takes place in 30 days, but payment is on the 90th day. So on the 90th day, if the buyer doesn't pay, the buyer will have the goods also and the money also. So seller is at loss. To avoid all these problems, LC came into picture. LC is the best method as of now available in any transaction. Okay, has sent other goods rather than demanded. Yeah, that is a separate part here. Uh, what the question asked to me is, if the seller has sent the other goods, then what is demanded? In that case, buyer always has this right? Because in the documents which are sent, always remember, whenever the invoice, there are 6 documents actually. Okay, in any forex, I was coming to that in LC part. There are 6 documents always. What are those 6 documents? Those 6 documents are, I'll write it over here. Okay, say this so you'll understand. 2I, 2I, 2B, and PC. What is that? 2I means invoice, invoice, insurance. These 2 documents, invoice, insurance. 2B means bill of lading, bill of lading. Okay, and bill of exchange, bill of exchange. And third one is packing list, list. And last one is COO, we call it, certificate of origin. Certificate of origin. Okay, so these 6 documents are always sent by the seller from this to Axis, Axis to HSBC, and HSBC to buyer. So these 6 documents, when they are prepared, okay, and when I send the goods on the sea, okay, through sea, so there is a customs house over here. Okay, this customs house, it checks the goods against my insurance, against my invoice, against my BL, against my packing list. All these things are checked by the customs house in India. Okay, also when the goods reach this customs house in USA, okay, there also the customs house checks the documents, the goods against the documents over there. So that's why there are very less chance that this seller will send some other goods, because those are checked by 2 authorities over here, 2 custom houses. Okay, so that's why always remember, seller is always at risk in both these 2 cases. Okay, so now these 6 documents, I'll come to these 6 documents in the LC flow. Okay, just remember the names, 2I, 2B, PC. Okay, now let's go to LC part. What is LC then? How it is good for this year? LC has write it good for buyer, seller, good for buyer. Both buyer and seller, it is good. Why it is good? Now I'll tell you what it is. Okay. The point over here is, firstly, what is LC? What is LC basically? See here. In earlier case, what was the case over here? In all these 3 above cases, the problem was with the buyer and the seller. Both these parties were involved, and banks were acting just as a courier party, courier person, taking the documents, giving to HSBC, HSBC taking the disclaimer or undertaking, giving the documents. So these 2 banks were acting as a courier person, nothing more role. Okay. But now what happens? This Axis Bank and HSBC Bank in LC, they act as a authority. Now what is that authority? Now let's look at it. Okay. So now let's look at this LC. Always remember, LC flow is always in 3 parts. Have I given it over here? No. Okay. LC flow is always in 3 parts. Okay. Any LC will always move in 3 parts. One, LC transaction total. Okay. So LC transaction will have 3 parts. One is LC flow, which I am showing right now. Second is documents flow, documents flow. Okay. And third is money flow, money. Keep it very simple, isn't it? In international trade, various names are given to all these 3 terms. Okay. LC flow, they call it, all the big names are given. But logic is very simple. Only LC flow, documents flow, and money flow. These 3 flows cover the entire LC transaction. Okay. Now, how does it cover? Let's study one by one. LC flow. We'll be studying LC flow only today. I think so. By this 26th, yeah, half an hour. LC flow will take much time because LC flow and document flow, these two flows are very difficult to understand. Okay, money flow is very simple to understand. LC flow and document flow are the difficult ones, very difficult ones. Okay, so everyone pay attention over here. See this. This is the buyer in USA. This is the seller in India. Okay. Earlier three transactions we have seen open account and that what collections and advance. Okay. All those the banks were acting just as a courier party. If this guy buyer gives the payment, bank will give the payment. If this guy doesn't give the payment, bank will not give the payment. Okay. But in LC, what happens? This importers bank, let's say HSBC was there over there. Now we'll call it HSBC only. Okay. And this was Axis over here. We'll call this Axis only. Okay. Yeah. Now what happens? This HSBC bank comes to this seller. Okay. Comes means it doesn't come on itself. This buyer requests this HSBC bank that see, kindly issue an LC on my behalf. See here, it issue an LC on my behalf. Now what is this LC? This LC means HSBC bank will tell this seller, understand this, HSBC bank will tell this seller, I'll mark this arrow directly over here. So HSBC bank will tell this seller that see, if you send me these 6 documents, what that 2I, 2B and PC, okay? If you send me these 6 documents to me, okay, then I will pay you. See here, what is this bank saying now? I will pay you. In earlier thing, what was it said in collections and this open account? This HSBC said, if this guy pays me, then I will pay you. But in LC, HSBC is saying whether this person pays me or not, I don't care. I will pay you. So now the responsibility of payment has come to whom? Bank. And bank is always trustworthy rather than an individual, isn't it? Tomorrow if the bank tells you, any bank tells you that we will pay you, you will definitely trust them rather than any individual party, right? So that's why banks give give it in writing to this seller that see, if you give me these 6 documents, then I will pay you. Forget this buyer. Okay. Now this seller is very much sure. Let's see. Yes. Because if I give these 6 documents to this bank will definitely pay me. So he is happy now. But what about the buyer? Buyer is also happy now. Why? Because firstly, he is removed from the burden of tracking these all documentation. Okay. Number one. Number two, the buyer is also confirmed over here that once the documents are received, the goods which he will receive, okay, will be as per the purchase order or as per his requirement. Because why? This invoice, insurance, and these will be checked by the bank also now over here, isn't it? Because bank has to give the payment, so it will definitely check all these 6 documents. So the burden of checking the documents and tracking the goods, so that is relieved from this buyer. So once the documents are cleared, in international trade always this thing happens. If the documents are clear, the goods are always clear. Why? Because the customs authority is involved, this bank is involved. If they all of them are checking the documents, then there are very 99.99% chances that the goods will be of the good quality only. Okay. Now coming back to this why will this both these parties agree for an LC if I'm having collections and everything? Because they don't trust each other. Like in the other problems we saw, open account and collections, somebody is at risk, isn't it? But here nobody is at risk. So what happens now? This HSBC bank prepares an LC. Now why will it prepare an LC? Imagine, suppose if tomorrow I go, I am the buyer. Imagine I am in USA, okay? And you are also in HSBC bank. Imagine, what's the harm in imagining, isn't it? Have you seen HSBC bank, anyone? I have many friends in HSBC bank. When I was in Citigroup, because I worked in all these banks only, HSBC, Citi, Stancy, the culture over there is very polished, very different. It's not like that of our banks. Pressure means boss, pressure, all this, nothing happens like this. It's simply fun. Means working there in these banks is almost on a every 15-20 minutes basis, there are jokes cracked in those banks. Okay. At least in the corporate offices. Okay. So now coming back, forget the culture and everything. Okay. So coming back. Now HSBC Bank. Okay. What is the point going on now? So in HSBC Bank, what happens? If this HSBC Bank, why will it issue the LC? Imagine you are in HSBC Bank, okay, and I am a buyer in USA. I come to you and tell you that, sir, please issue this LC for this seller. So what will you say? Why should I issue it? Because basic remains the same, logic remains the same. You will ask me 1,000 questions about AML. What is the, because after all, if LC is issued and no goods are received, then there will be an AML issue, anti-money laundering. Also, it will be a KYC issue, right? So this bank will always check the documentation. So this buyer, whenever he requests for this bank, for this HSBC Bank to issue that LC, he will have to give them two documents. What are those two documents? One is purchase order and second is pro forma invoice. Now, what is purchase order and what is pro forma invoice? It's like this. See this. Buyer will always have some requirement. Imagine again the same case of 5,000 chairs. I am in USA and there's some seller in India. I require 5,000 chairs. So if I want those chairs from this guy, what will I do? I'll give a purchase order to him that I want 5,000 chairs. This and this is my requirement. What will this guy give me from India? He will give me a tentative rate, or we call it quotation also, isn't it? Quotation or pro forma invoice, one and the same thing. So he'll give me a quotation or pro forma invoice, not invoice, pro forma invoice. Remember, invoice is different. Here, invoice is always received once the business is done. Got it? Always remember this part. Invoice is always, when do you get, you go to any mall, right? Purchase all those monthly stuff, isn't it? So when you go to any mall and purchase that stuff, that invoice is printed from that machine in that mall. When is it printed? When you pay that, take those goods in your hand and then the invoice is given to you, isn't it? So invoice always comes after the business is done, but before the business being done. If I come to you tomorrow and you are the, let's say, the machine manufacturer or chair manufacturer, you yourself, I'll ask you, give me 5,000 chairs of this quality. This should be the color. This should be the strength. Then you'll say, okay, these are my rates. This is my rate. This will be the total cost to you. Now, what is this called as? This is called as quotation or pro forma invoice. Both the names are allowed. There is also something called as provisional invoice. So, provisional, pro forma, quotation, one and the same thing. So, what will this buyer do now? When they decide to do the business with the seller, buyer and seller decide that we'll do the business. When they decide, this buyer will get both these two documents, purchase order received by, given by him, and that pro forma invoice or quotation received by him from the seller. Seller will first give the quotation. So he will take both the documents to HSBC and tell them, see, this is my requirement and this is the seller in India who is ready to sell me. So kindly issue the LC in his name. Okay. Then HSBC will do what? It will debit that buyer immediately. It will debit that buyer immediately. Remember, and keep that money with itself. And then issue the LC. It's like keeping that FD, isn't it? Otherwise, what happens? This buyer won't pay HSBC later, isn't it? So HSBC will first debit him or take an FD from him and keep it in their lien. Okay. Then HSBC will issue that LC to this seller. Now, there's a problem again over here. Imagine these buyer and seller, okay? These are both fraud. Both are fraud. I have seen one case which had gone to the national level where the buyer and seller both were fraud and they were trying to defraud the bank. He gave the buyer has no money as FD. No, then don't issue it. If buyer doesn't have money for FD or it doesn't have money to give to the bank before issuing the LC, do not issue the LC. Never ever issue the LC. Why? Because you will be in trouble. Once you give the LC, your responsibility starts. Buyer's responsibility ends. Okay? So that's why, yeah. So is voice breaking to everyone or only one or two guys? Everyone? Is the voice breaking to everyone or voice is clear? Everyone? Voice is clear, na? Yeah. Yeah, it's clear to everyone. Yeah, clear, clear. Okay. Just check, huh? Who Preeti? You check it at your end. Some network problem might be there. Okay. Chalo, move on. So what happens now? Look at this. Whenever that buyer says, I will pay you later, kindly issue the LC now, say strictly no to him. I won't do that. Why? Because tomorrow he can raise his hands. I don't pay. And your bank will be in trouble. You will, because once you give the LC to the seller, it becomes your responsibility to pay, not that buyer then. Okay. So now let's consider one case. Both buyer and seller may be frauds. So how to check that fraud? So in that case, what happens? HSBC, when it sends the LC to this seller in India, it doesn't send directly to the seller in India. What does it do? It sends to its agent bank in India. Agent bank means agent, or we call it correspondent bank. Now you will hear this word many times in forex also. Those problems we heard that name correspondent bank, isn't it? So this HSBC bank will have a correspondent bank in India. So what will that bank do? HSBC will send that LC to Axis Bank, which is the correspondent. Here I am giving an example. Huh? It's not Axis Bank is a correspondent of HSBC. So HSBC will send the LC to Axis Bank. But how will it send? HSBC Bank, when it sends the LC to Axis Bank, it doesn't send a paper that this is the LC from my side. It sends the LC via SWIFT. What is SWIFT? Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. That is SWIFT. But what is SWIFT? SWIFT means it's like that same RTGS system which we have. Okay. RTGS means once you receive the payment from any bank through RTGS, you are damn sure that it is received from that bank only. Why? Because you have checked the IFSC code of that bank, isn't it? Same logic is this SWIFT has the BKE arrangement, bilateral key arrangement. Okay. And we have SWIFT codes for each bank in this world. Of course, those who are in international trade, huh? Send nahi hota. No. Physical LC is never sent in international trade. No physical LC is sent in international trade. Okay. So HSBC, what does it do? It sends that LC via SWIFT to Axis Bank. Okay. SWIFT means what? It's just sent through that SWIFT method, and Axis Bank will take a printout of that LC. Printout. Okay. It will take the printout, and then Axis Bank will know this seller better than HSBC, because Axis Bank is also in the local area and this seller is also in the local area. So that's why HSBC is relieved from the stress that whether the seller is fraud, existing or no, we don't know. So now the responsibility comes on the Axis Bank. So this Axis Bank, when it receives the LC via SWIFT from HSBC, that bank is called as, this bank is called as advising bank. See this name now, advising. And this bank which has issued the LC is called as issuing bank. Okay. Issuing bank over here, and this bank is called as advising bank. Okay. Now, what is the role of this advising bank? The role of this advising bank is to check two parts. One, check the authenticity of the LC. How do you check the authenticity? Authenticity is like the SWIFT code, like we have that IFSC code, na? Same logic. There is a SWIFT code over here. So this Axis Bank will check the SWIFT code of HSBC Bank of USA. It will check whether this name on that LC is written as HSBC and the SWIFT code is also of HSBC. So authenticity, whether it is true or not, that is checked. Number two, forward all the pages of the LC to the beneficiary. Means what? If this HSBC Bank has sent via Swift 5 pages of LC, okay? Yeah. How it send an LC? Swift code send hoga na sir? Yeah, correct. See this. Through Swift messaging system, HSBC will send it via Swift to Axis Bank. Axis Bank will take a printout of this and it will send it via courier. See here, this will be the courier over here. From Axis to the seller, it will be courier. From HSBC to Axis, it will be Swift. Okay. And this Axis will take a printout over here and then send via courier. Got it, everyone? Yeah. So now, this Axis Bank should always check the authenticity, means the Swift code, number one. Forward all the pages, means what? If HSBC has sent 5 pages, and imagine Axis Bank takes the printout of only 3 pages. 2 pages it has left out by mistake. Then this seller will receive only 3 pages. But actually this LC is sent for how many pages? 5 pages. So if tomorrow there is some problem in the documents, HSBC will say what? We had sent 5 pages. I don't know how much you have received. Okay, that is not my responsibility. So that's why the role of the Axis Bank or the advising bank over here is it should check all the pages and print out all the pages and send the print to the seller. Okay. So this is the main role of advising bank. Okay. So now coming back, this advising bank will have two roles. Okay, done with this. So what is the importance of advising bank now? Advising bank's importance is take the printout of the Swift LC and send it to the seller and get the charge. Will it act for free? Axis Bank will act for free or HSBC will act for free? Nobody will act for free. Okay. Yeah, will be only seller's bank. Correct. Advising bank will always be in the seller's country, seller's bank. Okay. It can't be that, here, again, there are some confusions over here. It can't be that the seller will be having an account with Axis Bank. The seller may not have that account with Axis Bank. So Axis Bank is an advising bank. This bank need not be the account holder of or the account owner of that seller. Okay, it can be any XYZ bank. Okay, so it's not compulsory for the seller to have that account with this Axis Bank. Okay, got this point? Now, one more point over here. Axis Bank charges, because it's not working for some benevolence or some dan dharam, right? So Axis Bank will always act for charges. So this, when it takes the printout, checks the authenticity, it will have to send it will have to charge for this, isn't it? So that charges is called as advising bank charges. These advising bank charges are collected by this Axis Bank or this advising bank from the seller. Okay, this is known as advising bank charges. If the seller is fraud, how he gonna check? Who? Advising bank would be only seller bank. No, seller bank means what? Seller's country bank. It's not a seller's bank. Okay. No bank, even if suppose if you are having some account holder, okay, in your bank, even though he is an old account holder, but you never signify or never give importance or never sign it on any fake documents of any of the customers. We never do that because bank is altogether a different institution in any country. Okay. So even though the seller might be the account holder of that bank, but then also the bank won't sign any fake documents of that seller, isn't it? Yeah, will identify if it is not a seller's bank. How Axis Bank will identify if it is not the seller's bank? No. It's like that account opening which you send here. Whenever Axis Bank will send these documents to this seller's address, if they are returned back, okay, if the seller doesn't exist, if they are returned back, then what happens? This Axis Bank will definitely come to know that the seller doesn't exist over there. Now, second point is there can be a chance that the seller accepts these documents and then also he is a fake person. So what happens in that case? When he prepare the document in the second flow, when we come to it, means this 2I, 2B, PC, what did I tell you, those documents. When we come into the second flow, this flow, say this flow, documents flow. In this documents flow, this seller gets caught if he is a fake person. How? Because here there are 6 documents involved in this: invoice, insurance, bill of lading, bill of exchange, and packing list and certificate of origin. Okay, these are the 6 documents involved over here. Now imagine this seller has created a fake documentation and he has not sent the goods at all. Then what happens? All these documents are stamped by the customs office in India. Whenever the goods are sent via sea, see this is sea, right? This is sea. The goods are sent via sea over here to USA port. But when the exporter sends the goods, there's a customs office in India. This customs office will stamp all these documents, that insurance done. In that insurance document, it will check whether the goods mentioned in that insurance document are actually there in the ship. In the packing list, they will check whatever is mentioned in that packing list is already there in this ship. Similarly, for this invoice, for this bill of lading, okay, bill of lading is the document for, it's like the bus ticket which we have, or train ticket, right? Bill of lading is similar to that of the train ticket. Okay, means if you travel from the train, you will have that ticket. Okay, so that bill of lading will be stamped by that customs office. That, see, I have checked this bill of lading, and that bill of lading goods mentioned over there and the goods in the ship which has left, I have checked it and they are same. So that's why if anybody is trying to do some fraud over here, at that time it gets caught immediately in the customs office itself. So the exporter's bank, when it receives the documents, it will check whether the documents are stamped or not. If the bank feels some problem over there, it's a local bank. It can definitely go back to the customs house. How can HSBC bank from USA go to this local house in India? So that's why Axis Bank can go definitely to the local house. That's why this advising bank or the correspondent banks are used over there. Okay, got this point, everyone? So this documents flow and the money flow, tomorrow we'll be doing it because it requires huge time for you. Because in this documents flow, I'll tell you one important part. The role of the banks change. There were earlier, how many banks have we dealt with up till now? Issuing bank and this advising bank. Now you'll see tomorrow forwarding bank, confirming bank, negotiating bank, nominated bank, and then there will be one more bank that is called as reimbursing bank. That will come in the last flow, reimbursing bank, payments flow. Okay. So these are all almost 5 to 6 banks, okay, which will come in picture tomorrow. Okay. So we'll stop over here today. Yeah. Yes. So anybody has any questions in international trade if related to that? Because if you have not handled this, only Exim Bank will do. No. All the banks do it. See here, it was earlier. We are having this topic also, Exim Bank. Earlier, we had the role, means this Exim Bank used to do this function. No private bank or nationalized bank did this function. Okay. These much banks will come in picture. Yeah. Every time all these banks will come in picture. Every time. Okay. One or two banks may not be there because this forwarding, confirming, negotiating, all these banks won't come into picture. One of them will come in picture, but almost everything will be there every time. Okay. Earlier, what used to happen? This trade finance was handled only by Exim Bank. But since last 15-20 years, since 2005, even 2000, all the private banks and nationalized banks are handling these documents now. Okay, everybody is handling them. Then what is the role of Exim Bank then? Exim Bank acts as a mother father to all these banks. Means it gives them the advice whatever is going on in this world. Okay. Secondly, it handles bigger transactions. Bigger means what? Suppose if here any trade which is happening, this trade can happen in two timelines. One is within the year and second is beyond 1 year. So generally, Exim Bank handles all the transactions which are beyond 1 year. Generally, I am not saying compulsorily. Even local banks, means nationalized banks and these private banks, are allowed to handle transactions of higher tenure also, depending on the approval. But Exim Bank generally handles all the transactions which are 10 years, which require 10 years for execution or so. Okay. So forget, keep out of that mind that Exim Bank only handles this. All the nationalized banks, private banks, everyone handles this now. You are saying in case of both buyer and seller as a fraud, what was that? Yeah. See here, what happens is buyer and seller both become fraudulent. What happens? They want to loot this bank or they want to defraud this bank. See here, what happens? This buyer and seller. Suppose I am the buyer, you are the seller. Okay. What we both decide, what we'll do is we'll defraud this HSBC bank now. How will we do it? I become the buyer in USA. I go to HSBC Bank. Let's see, I am buying these goods, whatever goods are there, okay? And what you do is you issue an LC to the seller. So HSBC Bank, if it is not doing the due diligence, now remember this word, if it is not doing the due diligence, then it will issue the LC. As a buyer, I won't give you the payment also. Because see here, first rule is HSBC has to first debit me and then only issue the LC. But if HSBC doesn't do that, doesn't debit me and it issues the LC based on my trust, then tomorrow what happens? HSBC will give the LC. That seller will send the documents. He is also defrauding. Okay. Now there is a lesser chance now because customs house has become very strict. Okay. So this LC, this seller will send a fraudulent documents. He can prepare the stamp of that customs also, isn't it? He will prepare the stamp of that customs and send it to HSBC Bank. So HSBC will do what? Okay, documents received. Now it will have to pay to the seller. It will pay the seller. And buyer has not paid the HSBC Bank. So it will ask for the payment and buyer and seller both are gone. So both of them will distribute the money because the money involved in international trades is around minimum around 50 to 60,000 USD generally minimum. Even if you consider 50,000 USD, it's a huge amount. So only FD can be kept as security. Yeah, FD or cash, anything. You can freeze that savings account or that current account of that customer also. Anything is allowed. Okay, FD or cash, anything. Okay, yeah. So you can keep that. Okay. Chalo, bye then. Tomorrow we'll be handling the remaining part of this LC. Okay. Chalo, bye, 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 bye. Yeah. Done. Okay. Yeah. For those guys now who are on YouTube, just for those, you can leave. Those who are in the class, you can leave. For those who are watching in YouTube, last 1 or 2 free sessions are remaining. Say this, you can go to Adda 24/7, click on JAIIB and CAIIB. You'll see these batches over here, JAIIB, CAIIB, Mahapack, CAIIB 23. Click on CAIIB 23. Okay. On CAIIB 23, you'll see the batches, English, bilingual. Go for the English batch. There you'll get the details. Go through the details. Here we cover all the numericals, objective questions, theory, everything is covered over here. Okay, numericals, whatever these case studies are there. Okay. Now look at the fees part. You can go through the details. Here, recorded videos are available 24/7. Ebooks are available. Interactive classes are available. Like this only. Just now, as I took the class, everyone is asking the questions. We answer to that also. Okay. So 23,999 is the fees. Don't pay this huge fees. Click on view offers. Put the code Y432. Y432. Never forget the code. Okay. Click on apply. Okay. Now the fees reduces to what? 4799. Okay. And 23,999 reduces to 4799. Such a huge discount you are getting. Okay. Go for it. Also, you can go for Mahapack. It's here. I would always suggest go for Mahapack because in Mahapacks, you get many batches. Even those who are in the class, you can join the Mahapack also. Okay. CIB Mahapack. You get how much? Roughly 15 plus batches, isn't it? It's given over here. Look at this. 15 plus batches of ABM, BFM, BRBL. Okay. This is this. 15 plus batches. See this. 15 plus batches of ABM, BFM, ABFM and BRBL. Then case studies are available, ebooks are available, full length mock tests are available. They are available over there. You can go for it, isn't it? Also look at the fees part. 35996, click on view offers. Put the code Y432, Y432, click on apply. See this, 35996 reduces to 7199. Such a huge discount you are getting, 80% off. Plus the validity is also 6 plus 6, 12 months. Go for it, 12 months at 7199. This offer won't last long, isn't it? Okay. Chalo, I'll take the leave now, everyone. कब आते हैं? After 3 to 4 hours. Okay. Recorded videos come after 3 to 4 hours. Okay. Chalo. Yeah. Bye. Bye, everyone.